Hey there, kids. It is Mr. King with your first lesson of the school year. I hope you liked the video that I got for you guys there on Cheeming Boey, who is a really cool artist who's made something as absolutely kind of mindlessly used and thrown away as a styrofoam coffee cup into a high form of art in terms of the canvas that he chooses to use. And I just think it's a lot of fun because how many people have taken something like a coffee mug, like a paper coffee cup, or any scrap that they could find, doodled on it, and just thrown it away and thought nothing more of it. It takes somebody a little bit more creative to really go there and say, you know what, I'm going to make this high art. And that's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to take over the same idea that Cheeming Boey is. We're going to steal his idea, which is a huge part of what artists do, and we are going to create our own. As this is your first class, I just want to remind you that in my classroom, you're going to make lots of mistakes, and that's a good thing, because the more mistakes you make, the more you're pushing yourself to the limits of your ability, and the more that as you overcome those limits, you will really truly be learning and improving and getting better. So before we even start, just want to remind you, I know it's a little bit of a plug, make those mistakes, screw up as much as you need to, fail, and then try again, and you're gonna get better. So failure is not a bad thing, especially in the art room. So first things up, you're gonna need a couple of supplies. Number one, a styrofoam cup. Now, I know some of you guys at home who are doing the remote learning are not going to be able to get your hands on a styrofoam cup really easily. There's a couple things you can use. I guarantee one of them will be in your home and at your grasp. The easiest one, since we're gonna be working on a cylindrical canvas, is just a toilet paper tube or the tube on the inside of a paper towel set, or paper towel roll, or even the tube on the inside of wrapping paper. If you can find any of those, then you're all set. You can even chop it down if it's a little too big with just a pair of scissors going across it. But what you're really looking for is just a mundane material like a coffee cup like this, or even a paper white cup will work great too, that you can draw on. Sharpie is a really awesome thing because it draws on all kinds of surfaces. So you are gonna need to get a Sharpie or permanent marker like Sharpie. You do not want a Crayola or other water-based marker. It has to be an alcohol-based marker, and we always call those permanent markers, okay? They're not really permanent, they just tend to adhere better to glossy surfaces, so that's why we call it that. Anyways, enough about permanent markers and all that. You're gonna need those. You're gonna need your material here. If you do happen to have something like a toilet paper tube, you can actually just use a fountain pen would work wonderful for that. Or at that point, you can use a water-based marker, although I still encourage you to go permanent because if it gets wet, it won't get completely ruined. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our styrofoam cup, and first things first, we're used to looking at it like this because we drank from it. Well, guess what? Flip it over. The reason being that while you're working with this cup, it's going to be awkward to work with because it is a cylinder. It's not something you can lay flat on the table. It's gonna wanna roll around on you and it's gonna be a pain. Trying to draw like this, problem. So what you're gonna wanna do is you wanna actually take your hand, put it inside of the cup right here. You can use a couple of fingers or all of your fingers depending on how wide your hand is. Mine's a little large, so I usually just go with my pinky sticking out right there, very English. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the cap off of my ultra fine point Sharpie. If you have just a regular fine point, that will work too. It's just obviously I get a more precise line, a more detailed line with ultra fine point, and I really like that. And here's what I want you guys to do. For this, we are going to practice something that I don't know if you remember me talking about previously, but this is called automatic drawing. And automatic drawing is one of my favorite kinds of drawing because there's really no such thing as a creative block. You are just going to doodle whatever you see fit. So first up, you're just gonna wanna make a mark on here. And so I'm just kind of making this kind of oblong line right here, and you're gonna let that turn into something. And if you've seen the doodles around like my doorway, you'll know that, I do a lot of this automatic drawing. And so in this sense, this to me is turning into some sort of like fish monster or aquatic thing. I do a lot of these. I mean, they just tend to pop up from what I draw. I think partially because fish can kind of come from anything. So I'm getting kind of a catfish feel for this one. It's a little hard to do while I'm looking partially at the screen here. I'm just gonna mention that. I'm gonna give this guy some teeth though. And you're just gonna let that drawing form. And so there's no wrong way or right way to do this. The only wrong way is if you give up. And we are definitely not going to do that. Make a circle here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give them a little shine for the eyes. But let me explain a little more about this project as I'm finishing out a little bit more of my drawing. So one important thing to know is that it's going to be difficult to work with. This material is obviously a cylinder, so it's much harder to draw on than a flat piece of paper. That is kind of on purpose. I want you to see what kind of challenges using a strange kind of canvas can present to you. Another problem is that if you push way too hard with this pen or pencil, in terms of this situation, we're using a ultra fine point pen, it can poke straight through the styrofoam if you're too rough with it. So, you know, you want to be kind of gentle. Definitely and forgive the expression, it's not meant to be religious anyway, but the devil's in the details, as in when you are creating these drawings, these automatic drawings, you are really going to get the most benefit, you're going to get the most going for you by adding those little details as you go. So like all these little weird spine things that I'm putting on it, the wrinkles around the eyes, if I create maybe like a texture here on the lip, kind of like giving them more kind of these dry, nasty textured lips, it will create a much more interesting drawing to look at. So we are going to continue on with this. And what you're going to do is you're just going to build your drawing. And eventually this drawing is going to go, and by the way, don't shy away from stuff just turning into pattern. It doesn't all have to be representational drawing. I'm making this kind of weird coral thing going on right here because it is, you know, sea life, so I'm going to make it kind of reminiscent too, but it doesn't need to be all part of the creature, okay, or the thing, or whatever you happen to draw. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep drawing this, and it's going to go completely around the cup, and it's actually going to come back and it's going to connect to the original drawing. Now, it can all be one coherent image, or it can be something that kind of morphs and changes as you go. In fact, I think that's kind of more entertaining sometimes, but I do want it to feel finished, okay? And what that means is that you guys are going to have to start thinking about things that are not finite, meaning there's not like okay, you've hit the goal, you're at the end, you're done. You're done with this just kind of when you feel like it. But the thing is, you can't phone it in. It's easy to say, okay, I did a guy, he's done. I'm done with my work. I'm gonna get an A+ on this. No, right now, this work right here, because it is so incomplete to me, if I had a student hand this to me, yeah, you know, I'd be perfectly excited that they've got some drawing skills, but I would definitely not give them a very positive grade, because it's like, okay, how much did you cover? Maybe, you know, 5% of the total surface with your line work. That is not complete in any sense. But what about a texture for the skin for this guy? What about a background, things going on? So take your time, make it look as absolutely impressive as you possibly can. You are absolutely free, if you have colored Sharpies, to add color to these, but it is not essential. I actually personally like working in black and white a lot. It's very in keeping with Cheeming Boey's work, which is very much just a black Sharpie on a white surface. So you can kind of stick with that if you want to. There is no problem for it. And the last thing I'll tell you is there is an extension to this lesson, and I will be letting you know about that. That will be potentially day 2, but it's probably going to be more of day 3 in terms of this project. So for this whole week, you're probably just going to be working on finishing this cup. It should take you, in terms of work time, I would say honestly about an hour and a half of real drawing time on this. So again, don't phone it in. The rim provides a really cool spot to work on. Don't forget that you can, if you want to, create drawing back here. But the one thing I'll tell you is leave a space, because here on the bottom is where I like to encourage my students to put their names. Now there are some little, I don't know if you guys can see these little bumps back here. You just gotta just grit your teeth and go right over the top of them. Sometimes that texture feeling is kind of weird. Okay, and that's really it, guys. To start with, we are working with automatic drawing and line work, and very odd and strange canvases in a sense. So the drawing can really be anything you want. It's a little bit about getting your creative juices flowing. The end goal here is to have something impressive, interesting, strange, and kind of dreamlike come out on this weird canvas, which is this mug, this cylinder. Okay, I'll let you guys in on the next part on the next video. and let you know where the rest of the class here physically in the classroom is on this. Maybe I'll even give you a chance to say hi to everybody real quick in the video. So anyways, have an awesome one. I will see you later. Submit this via the little cell phone picture or laptop picture to the Google Classroom. Let me know you've made progress on it for the first week, which is 2 classes worth. So this cup should, for the most part, be done. Okay? And remember to put your name on it. It's really important. You might even want to write your grade level. Up to you. Okay, well, that's it, guys. I'll see you later. Bye!